International Women's Day. That was how I celebrated my own International Women's Day. It gives me relief, it gives me joy to do these things, and I hope you actually celebrated one woman or another. Happy International Women's Day. A particular thing I said when I was calling them was that everybody keeps saying you're a strong woman, you're so strong, and it feels that
I think we lost her connection, or is it only me?
Yeah, she's gone off.
Oh, wow. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dekunbi Wuraola. I'm the convener of Women on a Mission Initiative, and that was Nalu Eze, who is one of the coordinators of Women on a Mission. She's actually in charge of Southeast. I think it must have been her network. It's a delight. It's a pleasure for us to have you on this special edition, as we'd like to call it, of International Women's Day. Women on a Mission is actually an initiative where we started in 2021, and gradually we have been able to extend to about, I think, close to about 70 or so higher institutions across Nigeria, where we are supporting young women, undergrads and fresh graduates, to find their feet in their business, in their career, and, just everything that should make life easy for them as they get into the real world. And so one of the things that keeps coming up is the International Women's Day that we're celebrating. They're women in their own right, because we can't call them girls again. And fortunately, last year we had a conference which was themed on apologetically her. Please, can you mute if you're on the call? Can you mute? God's Power Green, please mute. Thank you very much. And so at this conference, is one of the things that came out is to have this monthly sessions where we would have discuss, and the young ladies would have the opportunity of learning from experience, male and female, because yes, we're women on a mission, but we can't be women on a mission without the support of our men. And so it gives me great pleasure to have this evening. Yesterday was really jam-packed for a lot of people. I know I must have been on close to about 6 different calls. And so today being a Sunday, we decided to see if we can have our own International Women's Day conversation on Sunday evening, and not only have it Sunday evening, but also to have it from a different perspective. Accelerate action has been the theme for the year, but this time we want to have it from a he for she perspective. Nalu, are you back on? Because I want you to introduce our speaker in person of Mr. Oladele Ogunlana, and to also
yes, I am back.
Yes.
I am so sorry. One cannot.
Okay. Just allow me to acknowledge 2 special ladies who are on this call. Everybody is special, but you permit me to have these 2 special ladies. I'll start from someone who today is also her birthday. So can we all unmute and, just say happy birthday to her? She's joined us. Her name is Sandra Efemwaye. She's the 2024 president of JCI in Nigeria. And she was with us at Abeokuta at the Unapologetically Her conference. Today is her birthday. So please give a shout out to her and wish her a happy birthday on behalf of Women on a Mission. Thank you for joining us, Senator Sandra, in the JCI parlance, as we'd say. And then we also have for today a special guest of honor. She's probably attended about 4 events today that I am aware of in the city of Lagos. And so for her to join us this evening, we are highly honored and we don't take it for granted. And so I'd like to specially recognize and thank for joining us on this special Women's Day edition, the National President of JCI Nigeria in 2025, JCI Ambassador Toyin Atanda. Thank you to these 2 special women of mine. Everybody's special, but they are special. I'm sure you understand why for joining us. Over to you, Nalu.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Happy birthday, Madam President, birthday. Thank you for being National President of JCI Nigeria. We see you. Thank you so much. I apologize for the breaking transmission from my end. One cannot trust Nigeria's network. It can just, oof, but that's a story for another day. So right about now, we are going to introduce our speaker. He was the
I don't think network is Nalu's friend today. But then all these things do happen. Yes, it looks like network. Nalu is actually in Enugu, and so we have people joining from across the country, from Abeokuta, from Lagos, from Enugu, from Kaduna, from Abuja, from Jos, from Sokoto, and all across Nigeria, from Uyo. So it is a really, really, really Nigerian event where you have everybody on. So intermittently, you allow me, I have another very special person on this call. She was part of the speakers at the Unapologetically Her conference last year. And that's in person of Mrs. Jokotade Odebumi. She was president of JCI Nigeria in the year 2003, and it's a pleasure to have you on this meeting with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Wow, women on a mission. Indeed, women are on a mission. We do have 3 past national presidents of Junior Chamber International Nigeria on this call, and I believe that speaks to the mission that we're all embarking on and we've embarked on, and that we're holding the torch and handing over to others. Since Nalu's network keeps going in and out, allow me to introduce our special speaker. And before he comes on, I would ask that the national president speaks to us. But today we have as our special guest speaker, Mr. Oladele Ogunlana. Mr. Oladele Ogunlana is versatile. In fact, if I have to introduce him, I would say so many things about him. He's not only a compere, a management expert, he's had a lot of experience in project management. He's also, in his free time, found time to work in Nollywood. If you've watched Blink Lagosian, you definitely have seen Mr. Oladele Ogunlana. He's a man of faith, and he's somebody who has, over the years, developed a social media presence where he's able to put his thoughts together on topical issues that are impactful and address things in terms of leadership, gender, and different societal ills. Mr. Ogunlana is joining us today, and he's going to be sharing his perspective from He for She, Accelerate Action. But just before he gets on, allow me to ask our special guest of honor, who is the JCI Nigeria president for 2025, to share her goodwill message and to also say a few things about Accelerate Action, because I know she's been accelerating action in quite a few fora in the last 1 week or so. Please, I yield the floor to JCI Nigeria Ambassador Toyin Atanda, 2025 President of JCI Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma. Good evening, everybody. Happy International Women's Day. See, International Women's Day is the Women's Month. Thank you so much for extending this invitation to me, my able past president, and the first female president of JCI Nigeria. Thank you for laying the foundation. If you had not fought, back then, we won't be here today. And that's what I keep saying everywhere that I've been, if you hadn't, taken that step, any one of us, the 7 female presidents wouldn't be here. And I must also recognize the second female national president of JCI Nigeria, JCI Senator Jokotade Odebumi. Thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you for everything that you're doing for us as young ladies. Also the immediate past president, the person that handed over to me, JCI Senator Sandra Ikine Efemwaye, and happy birthday once again. Thank you, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address this gathering of visionaries, allies, and advocates of gender equality this evening. It's been great representing women in leadership position across different programs in the last 48 hours. But I may say tonight, we are not just discussing a movement. I love the perspective of the he for she, because without, yes, you know, we are women, but the men also need to hold our hands, and we cannot do without them. And for long, there's been conversation around gender equity, gender equality, and it has been viewed as a struggle led by women for women. So that's why I love this perspective, because where women have undoubtedly been at the forefront, real progress also demands that men become active participants in helping us break the barriers, in helping us reshape the mindset. He for she is really important. We know the support is about the partnership, is about the responsibility, it's about them also lending a voice, you know, when it comes to women's rights, and also, you know, co-creating an equitable future for women. So it's important. He for she is very important because it allows us to empower our women, and when women are empowered, trust me, we have the best economy, we have the great community, we foster innovation, and you know, leadership is just at 101%. If you trust us with anything, you can be rest assured that we deliver 101%. But you know, most crucially, we must ask ourselves, what more can we do? And the answer really lies in intentional policy, mentorship, and advocacy. And I'm glad to say that, you know, I have great mentors on this call. For me, you know, I've been deliberate about picking mentors and also having mentors for every part of my life. And I know, you know, this is one of the forum, you know, that, so I love the fact that when Dekunbi was making a presentation, she spoke about leading, you know, empowering young women across different higher institutions. And this is, you know, where we need to start. This is where we need to be intentional about mentorship, bringing about policies and advocacy. You know, men in leadership, businesses, society must be vocal allies, you know, when it comes to women empowerment, actively pushing for gender inclusive policies, creating mentorship opportunities. Also, the men can, you know, I have men mentors. As I said, I have mentors for different areas of my life. So yes, you know, we need more men mentors, you know, to help our ladies, our women grow, create some opportunities for them, and create an environment, an enabling environment where our voices are heard and it matters. So as an organization, as JCI, we are committed to sustainable impact. And you can see, you know, over the years, we have 8 female presidents, we are growing. In our local organization, we have over 50% of women leading local organizations. On the board, presently in JCI Nigeria, we also have the same ratio, 50%. I would also like to mention, we had a mentorship program that we launched a few days ago, and it shows that women in the organization are taking the lead and are taking the growth into their own growth into their own hands. We had over 550 something applicants, and over 60% of the people that applied within JCI Nigeria were young females between the ages of 18 to 35. 60% of them were JCI women. And this is quite encouraging, you know, for us to see that, you know, women are taking their growth into their hands. They are championing leadership, inclusion, community development. You know, now is now left for us to ensure that we continue to take action, ensure that we come up with this kind of initiative, you know, that actively involve men as allies in this journey. Advocacy must shift from conversation to now commitment, you know, commitment. That's one of the things we were also talking about yesterday at the Lagos Metropolitan Leadership Summit, where we just keep emphasizing on action, you know. So when we get out of here, please, as much as possible, let us pledge to challenge stereotype in our workplaces, in our homes, in our communities, You let the men also, empower, men in leadership, they must create a pathway for women to rise. Let's also, whether you are in government and businesses or social structures, we must champion laws and practices that eliminate gender disparity. So if or she is, more than a solidarity, is a strategy for building a better and a more inclusive world. So thank you very much, JCI Senator Dekunbi Wuraola, my own personal, my mentor and my past national president, for putting this together. Let us continue to accelerate action, work together, and ensure that gender equality is not a distant goal, but is a present reality. Thank you very much. Let's continue to lead the change together. Thank you very much, Ma, for the opportunity to speak. Thank you very much, Ma.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was actually taking notes, and I'm saying that, wow, hopefully in the next few years, we'll have these female leaders from JCI and other leadership organizations take their rightful places in Nigeria. And they have a mentor. We have somebody who's been in politics and continues to be a mentor for the female who want to go into politics. That's in person of JCI Senator Jokotade Odebumi. So for those who want to go to the House of Reps, Senate, from their locality, they want to become commissioners, they want to be councillors. These leadership roles that we have JCI help us build. I really, really, really believe that we should take it beyond JCI. Thank you very much for that welcome. And I think that has set the pace for what we're going to be discussing this evening. And at this point, I'd like to yield this platform to a guest of honor, special guest, Mr. Oladele Ogunlana, who will be talking to us, sharing his perspective on accelerating action, the he for she perspective. He's dropped a few things earlier on in the day on his IG platform, and I know that it's going to be an interesting next 30 minutes thereabout. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Ogunlana.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Now, one of the most difficult things I have noticed is when you get to speak after intelligent people. And so the challenge is, what then do you say? Because I was listening to National President JCI Nigeria, and I was wondering if she had indeed looked through my notes. She used some sound bites that I had hoped that I would trip on, and I don't know. So maybe this is a good time to just say thank you very much, everyone, for listening. I mean, take on everything she has said and run with it. Okay, so I'm not going to take you or keep you up for 30 minutes. I'm going to make it crisp, and I hope that you would benefit from it. The last time I had the opportunity of speaking at an International Women's Day program was because I asked a question. And soon after my question was answered, I was drafted onto the panel, and I will never forget that day. But today we're looking at he for she, and it's essentially about the role of men and I'd like to also add, and the untold truth about women in the gender equity fight. And we're looking at shifting from support to action and addressing the internal barriers. You will see later on what I refer to as internal barriers. But basically what we're looking at is moving from words, mere words, to impact. So we have talked, we have debated, we have discussed gender equity for years. We have supported, we have advocated, we have even pledged over time to do better. But the beauty of it is that today, the conversation is different. Today, the theme is a lot clearer, and it is #AccelerateAction. And so what this says to me, and I hope it says to you, is that this is not a moment for slow or symbolic gestures anymore. This is a time to move swiftly. This is a time to break barriers, and this is a time to make inclusion real, to make inclusion tangible and undeniable. But to truly accelerate action, we must commit to confront all the obstacles. And we must begin to ask ourselves the hard questions. Okay, so what is holding us back is one of the questions. Another question is, why are some men afraid to champion gender equity boldly? And then this is what the most uncomfortable one, but I will say it. Why do some women slow down the progress of other women? Okay. And this is not, so what I am saying today, which I did see on the platform that Kumi was referring to, this is not just a he for she conversation, but a we for we movement. Because until we unite in purpose, men and women together, we will not achieve the speed we need. So the time for hesitation is over. The time for impact is now. And I dare to say gender equity in Nigeria, and indeed across the world, is often framed as a battle of the sexes, men against women. You see, but the truth is, this struggle is more layered than we sometimes admit. Unarguably, yes, male-dominated structures have held women back for generations, okay? But we must also address the uncomfortable truth and the reality. Sometimes women themselves become barriers to their own progress. Okay, so whether it is competition, whether it is internalized subservience, or a reluctance to challenge the status quo, these divisions create cracks, always in the movement for gender equity. I'm very glad, I'm really glad that this is virtual before some people start stoning me. So as we begin to discuss what it means to be true male allies, another word that Toyin has used, we must also ask these ourselves. How do we address the reality of women pulling each other down? And how can men who are genuinely invested in progress, how can we help to dismantle these divides? So at the end of the day, this is not just a conversation about gender. It becomes a call for unity and strategy, because the fight for gender equity should not be against each other, but the fight should be against the structures that hold us all back. So, having said that, let me begin to look at what I call step-by-step discussion points, and I will try to also throw in some examples that are relatable in this environment. So when we look at he for she, and why men's voices matter in the gender equity conversation, the truth is this, it's very simple. Men dominate leadership in Nigeria across business, politics, and governance. So if gender advocacy is left only to women, the change we seek will clearly be slow. Okay, so accelerate action would be to look at these discussion points with Nigerian examples, relatable examples, like I said. So I'll probably end up saying 1, 2, 3, but let me say 1 at this point. 1 is from support to impact. Why men must move beyond words. When we talk about being allies, being an ally is not about making speeches. It truly is about creating the space. Creating space. An example that comes to mind readily is when you look at the former governor of Lagos, Babatunde Fashola. He deliberately included women in his cabinet. He created space for female leaders like Sarah Shoson, and Adebimpe Akinshola. So men like this, they use their influence to ensure gender inclusion. Another close example is Igoje of Access Bank. And he doesn't just support female leadership. What he has also done is to ensure that Herbert's successor, Roosevelt, also begins to champion policies that elevate female executives. So the shift, especially in this regard, is that for men that can booga about what they do, what I'm saying is that instead of saying, I support women, they should begin to say, here is what I have done to ensure that women thrive. And that's the shift. So a man in leadership should not just support women privately. A man in leadership must advocate for them openly in male-dominated spaces. So over the course of these few minutes, I'm going to be giving you some accelerate action thoughts. And the first one that I'm going to share with you now is, what is one thing you can do today, not tomorrow, to create gender equity in your sphere of influence? Think about it. That's your first accelerate action assignment. Now, the second point is that silent sabotage, which I think I probably mentioned it like 3 or 4 times already. It's women pulling women down. And the reality is that some of the greatest barriers to women's success come from other women. And this is the silent war no one talks about. The truth is, women's progress is sometimes slowed, not by men, but by other women. We have examples. Let's look at the Nigerian banking sector. Nigeria's banking sector has seen more female MDs in recent years. Yet, reports that we have suggest that some of the hardest battles that they face have come from female subordinates who resist them more than their male counterparts do. I'm sure some of you can identify with this. Another example that I want to speak about is in an industry that I've stepped into at some point. In the Nigerian film industry, some actresses, they have spoken about their senior colleagues. They say they block them from opportunities. So the battle is often not against patriarchy, but against what I have referred to as gatekeeping. So why does this happen? And I'll tell you, the first point that I want to suggest of why it happens is what I call the queen bee syndrome. The queen bee syndrome. A woman who struggled to rise may subconsciously believe others must struggle too. So she refuses to open doors for others. I'm sure some of you can identify with that. The next one is internalized subservience. Many women, they have been raised to see men as natural leaders. And so they may resent women who challenge this order. Another set is those that have capitulated to the system. You know, some women see other ambitious women as threats rather than allies. So these women, they prefer to play safe rather than disrupt a male-dominated system. The last one I'll probably talk about is personal dislike. That's a structural change. When personal rivalries are mistaken for gender bias, progress slows down. When some women believe leadership is a male preserve, what they then do is they resist female authority. I'm sure in recent times, some of you can think of examples. You know, look at a while back, there was a political tussle between former finance minister Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and the former petroleum minister, Diezani. You know, it reflected how two powerful women in leadership positions, how they struggled with power dynamics rather than leveraging their positions for collective female empowerment. We've got to begin to address these things. We've got to begin to see these things. So your next accelerate action thought is this. If you're a woman in power, ask yourself, are you opening doors or locking them? Right. So now I want us to look at how this hurts the gender equity movement. It sure does hurt. It hurts the movement. If women are divided, progress slows down. So a movement that lacks unity is easily dismissed. So a divided movement becomes an ineffective one. So when women begin to fight each other, what does it do? It gives the opponent an excuse to do nothing. So an example would be the struggle for equal representation in Nigerian politics. It has been weakened because female politicians are often divided. Some continue to support patriarchal systems for their personal gain, while others continue to strive to push for change. I'm sure everybody here would recall Nigeria's 35% affirmative action for women in political appointments, blah, blah, blah. And that has remained unfulfilled. And why? It's partly, as far as I'm concerned, it's partly because of divisions in advocacy. Some women's groups prefer quiet diplomacy. Some others, they demand protest, activism. So the lack of a unified strategy will clearly weaken whatever result we're hoping to get. So, what would be like a call to action? Women must, very importantly, address internal biases and recognize that collaboration and not competition is the key to progress. Now, because of this divide, some men use it as an excuse. And you hear things like, if women don't support each other, why should we? Okay? So when women begin to fight each other, what does it do? It reinforces harmful stereotypes. Another word that Toyin brought up. It reinforces harmful stereotypes that women are too emotional or competitive for leadership, which we all know is not true. Okay? Now, another accelerate action thought. Are you truly fighting for women or only for yourself? Think about it. So let's look at our role, the role of men. And we have to break the cycle. We have to promote unity, but not just as supporters. We're not going to be able to achieve it as supporters, but as disruptors. We have to behave like true allies, challenging all forms of bias, whether from men or women. All forms of bias, whether from men or women, because we are allies. An example that is very close to us is Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, president of the African Development Bank. He made gender inclusivity a structured policy, not just an idea, by funding thousands of female entrepreneurs across the continent. Okay? So men, call it out. Men should not allow a toxic work culture where women are pitted against each other. Even when it's from other women, don't stay silent when you see women undermining each other. It's very dangerous. An example of someone that understood this is Dr. Obi Ezekwesili when she was vice president of the World Bank. And she didn't care. She openly called out male and female colleagues, those who blocked competent women from rising. She called them out. Okay, so let's also begin to look at mentorship for all. We've got to encourage mentorship that promotes all deserving women and not just a select few. As a collective, we must resist divide and conquer tactics. And that's what we see with many political parties. They strategically ensure women compete against each other for limited roles instead of expanding the opportunities. They make them compete for against each other for limited roles. Whereas what they can do is to expand the opportunities that are available to women. Again, promote female leadership that fosters inclusion. Let's support women who uplift others and not those who reinforce existing hierarchies. Yeah, I said it. Do not support those who reinforce existing hierarchies. So, for the men, your accelerate action thought. Will you be the man who supports women privately but stays silent publicly? Will you be that man? No. So let's look at practical steps to achieve impact. And I would address my people first, men. One, be the voice in the room. Men, when you're in male-dominated spaces, advocate for female inclusion. Speak women's names in rooms where opportunities exist. There's nothing wrong in publicly endorsing and elevating women just because of this one truth. Your voice carries weight. So use it. A quick example is a gentleman called Tony Elumelu. And through his foundation, he ensures that at least 40% of the entrepreneurs supported are women. Another example is Aliko Dangote, who doesn't just fund women's businesses. He ensures that female entrepreneurs get global visibility. So it's happening, but we just need to gather more and be part of this new move. It's also the opportunity to sponsor women based on merit and not favor. Okay? Gender equity is not about tokenism, but genuine inclusion. It is not about quotas, but real access to leadership. Not tokenism. Don't make it seem as if we're doing them a favor. No. So challenge women who undermine other women. Because you say you're an ally. So being an ally means addressing all forms of bias, whether male or female, whether from male or from female. And also what you can do as men is to invest in women-led businesses. Okay, economic empowerment accelerates equity faster than the debates we engage in. Now, to the women, stop the queen bee mentality. Lift other women as you rise. Women, recognize your allies, your true allies. And I dare to say this, not all men are against equity. Work with those who genuinely support change. Form strategic alliances, not cliques, you know? So let us begin to see women working together, but not in isolated groups. You know, we have this, okay, there's some groups that we have around. You can tell they're isolated groups. They're not all-inclusive, right? That's a matter of another day. So women, build unity amongst yourself. Address internal biases and rivalry so that you can lead that change. Push for structures where fairness isn't just talked about, but it is implemented. You've got to begin to call out unfair power structures when they are led by women, because bias is bias, no matter who enforces it. Okay? Now, accelerate action thought. Think about this. If your advocacy doesn't challenge bias in every form, it's incomplete. So think about what you're doing. Think about your advocacy. If it doesn't address bias in every form, it's not complete. So let me speed up and try and break down into actionable points. So begin to create spaces for honest conversations. Women should openly discuss their struggles with unity and support. Women must be able to acknowledge past mistakes and strategize for collective progress. Okay, so it could be creating women in women in leadership roundtable, you know, where women can actually speak on professional challenges. You may do that now, but you see, I'm saying speak on professional challenges without fear of judgment. Okay, and then develop allyship programs that include both men and women. And what you need to do for us, okay, is to train male leaders, us, on what real gender advocacy looks like. Train us. And then we can begin to organize he for she mentorship workshops, you know, where successful men, they begin to share how they've actively promoted female leadership. We need those kind of opportunities. Let the men come out, you know, and then let's see how we can implement zero tolerance policies for sabotage. Okay? Because workplaces and organizations, they should address the issue of women blocking other women. I can't remember how many times I've said this, but we know it's the truth. I mean, there's an example of a female manager repeatedly suppresses female subordinates' growth. There should be interventions, just the same way that we would have interventions if it was male. Okay? So let's also promote leaders who leaders who elevate others. Okay? Women in leadership should begin to strive to mentor and uplift others, not just hold their own position. And a quick example is under Mrs. Bukwawushika's leadership as chairperson of First Bank, one of the things she did was to actively mentor female executives into leadership roles. I said did, but she might be doing it still, but I recall at the time was something she did. So let me paint a holistic picture for us here today about all I have said. So moving beyond the battle of the sexes, this is not about men versus women. Okay, see it as about fairness versus inequality. The real battle for me isn't between women themselves or between men and women. The battle for me is against outdated mindsets that still hold us all back. So the true he for she movement, therefore, is one where men don't just support women. Hey, they challenge anyone who undermines progress, whether male or female. And women, rather than fighting each other, recognize that unity is the fastest route to equity. So, my charge to women, my dear sisters, your biggest allies may not always look like you. Some of us have beards. But recognize the men who are fighting for your success. And more importantly, recognize the power of your unity. Do not let personal differences or past struggles blind you to the greater goal. No single woman's success is a win if other women remain behind. And the admonition to us men who have been set free as allies is this: being an ally is not just about standing with women. It is also, and very important, it is about standing against bias in all its forms. So now that you see the truth, use your influence to ensure fairness, challenge stereotypes, and create opportunities. True leadership is not about preserving power, but about distributing it. So let's move from talk to action. And I thank you for your time and for listening.
Wow. Wow. Please, can we use the clap emoji to celebrate our speaker? That was wonderful. Guys, drop in the comment section, say something fantastic. I can only see a few people dropping their emojis. I can see Senator Joko Tade Odebumi. I can see Temilola Ajayi. Guys, I want to see the energy. Go to the chat box and say, that was beautiful, Mr. Ogunlana. I mean it. If you don't say it, we will literally fight this night. I will locate you wherever you are, and we're going to have a physical combat. I am not joking with that. So while this thing was going on, we have this group chat. We have this Women on a Mission group chat on WhatsApp where we have about 400 women there, although a couple of them are not here or whatever. But we are engaging in conversations there. So for every point you made here, we'll go over there, type it out. A couple women put their points. So it's been really an engaging session outside here, right? So the key points, the catchy phrases you've been saying, we've been internalizing them. We've been asking ourselves questions, and I have a lot to say. I can't even process my thoughts properly right now. But first things first, thank you so much, Mr. Ogunlana. That was beautiful. You've really made us, there are questions we are not asking ourselves as women, and we need to start asking these questions. It's not about saying, yes, equality, equity, discrimination, blah, 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 blah. But as a woman, how are you supporting the other woman? You are the only one rising. What about the other women? How are you trying to mentor? How are you trying to support? How are you trying to help? These are many questions we should answer. So I know everybody has questions. If you do not have questions, start thinking about them, because we cannot allow Mr. Ogunlana leave this call without relinquishing all this knowledge on us through the answers he's going to give to our questions. So please, for every question, use the chat box to drop your questions. I will be reading them out, okay? Anybody who missed this session has missed. In fact, you've missed heaven. I don't care. Anybody who missed this session has missed heaven, because, oh, wow. Whew. Okay, now to breathe. I'm breathing right now because I said a lot in a few minutes. Okay, guys, please, if you have questions, use the chat. I'm going through the chat box. I do not have a question. I can't see a question yet. So please, if you are not comfortable putting it here, if you're in our group chat on WhatsApp, okay, we have a question already. Good. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. This is a question, an interesting question that borders on what is happening in Nigeria right now, Mr. Oladele. So I want you to throw your voice on it. It says, can you please reach out or talk about the Natasha and Akpabio issue? Then, let's go.
Women on a mission. Are you ready for this thing that you're trying to delve into?
We are.
No, I'm not sure you processed it quite distinctly. But seriously, I was hoping that through some of the things that I have said, you would have been able to pick the things that we're experiencing at the moment. But unfortunately, the problem we have is that we're so blinded by the things that we imagine. We're not people that are given to, what's the word now? We're not given to, we've lost the sense of belonging. We've lost a sense of ethics. We don't even have scruples about most things anymore. So we are so pedestrian about the things that we hold dear. And so when we're discussing one matter, we begin to talk about unrelated issues. We go into things about personal life. We go into issues about your previous experiences. Those are not the issues. And until we begin to address the true facts that concern all of us. Because you see, this issue you want me to discuss, you would notice that we've gone away from the issue. We're now discussing private lives. And we are going to, I'll tell you what, in a few weeks, there was probably going to be maybe fuel scarcity, no electricity. Some things are going to happen such that you and I will take our minds off all of this and begin to follow the new problem. And so this is our way. So the new problem now takes over. This one is kept apart until something else happens some other time. Now, the issue here is, what are the real things that should bother us? The things that should bother us are rule of law, for instance. How are we addressing rule of law? How are we addressing issues? How do we begin to remove personalities from issues? You know, but we are not wired that way. I hate to say this, but we have suddenly become a people raped and abused and loving it. You know, so we just deal in frivolities. And I wonder why we cannot move away from these things. You know, I don't know. I have spent today writing something on politics and our engagements. And I keep saying to myself, one word that I use to describe our environment, and I'll stop there, is I have used one word, and that word is overrated. People are overrated. And so we are expecting too much from people. Let me just end there.
Okay, we are expecting too much from people. Write that down. Oladele Ogunlana 2025 on that. Okay, thank you so much on that. Thank you. If you have further questions, we have exactly 9 minutes to end this conversation. If you have further questions, please use the chat box. But since Mr. Oladele started answering his question, I did not see anybody who wanted to ask any question. So I'll take it that there's no other question. But I think I have a question from my own end. And I don't know if it's a question really. I don't know if I'll call it a question, but I'll just say it either way. But it's not a contribution either. But maybe I want to know the solution to this, right? I do say that when I started out in the media industry, when I was in my first year, didn't exactly know the right paths to take. And I was looking for women in the industry because I live in, okay, we have another question, but let me finish my own question. So I live in the city of Enugu, and I've seen a couple of people do things in the media, and I'm impressed, and I'm still, okay, we are getting so many questions now. Oh God, I guess I'll have to leave my question for later and prioritize the questions of my audience. That's the cross you carry as a host, I guess. So I will just leave that and come back to it later or not. Okay, we have two questions and we're only going to take these two questions. So the second one before the third says, what if you are not a Dangote or Elumelu? How best can you be an advocate? That's the second question.
I'll try and answer that as lightly as possible. Because you say, if you're not a Dangote or an Elumelu, that question doesn't describe the reason behind that question. But so I'll say a Dangote is a man, Elumelu is a man. A Dangote is a man that has employed people. A Dangote is a man that understands that there is need to recognize the woman in the workplace. Tony Elumelu is also a man that recognizes equity and feels that there is a gap that must be filled. And so he concentrates on the 40% affirmation, as it were. So if you're not Dangote or you're not Tony, you are a human being, you're a person, just like them, as a matter of fact. What environment do you work in? Oh, by the way, I'm not a Dangote, I'm not a Tony, but I have just shared my thoughts with you. So that's my contribution to this whole situation that we're trying to sort out. So we can either use our voices, you can use even your offices, you can use your positions to even educate. You know, a lot of the people are not able to do because we talked about stereotypes. People just they honestly don't even know better. Some people in 2025 still believe that the man has to be the boss. Stereotypes. Some people still believe so. So we must engage, and you see, again, let me since you've asked, let me add this here. One of the things that I have said, I said it 2 years ago, is this. We cannot, from this conversation now, we cannot be talking about equity. We cannot be talking about sorting things out and still place ourselves in a position of asking, tokenism. And earlier on, I posted something and I asked a very simple question. Why have women embraced Ministry of Women Affairs? Do we have a Ministry of Men Affairs? So when they create a Ministry of Women Affairs for you, What does that say to you? Especially when you have an equity framework or a background. You know, so it's not something, we need to begin to relook at these things, re-examine these things. The Ministry of Women Affairs, okay, so let them sort out women. No, you don't get into equity space with that. You cannot. They've sorted you out and they're holding their own, you know? So women, go and sort yourselves out. Women, no, we need women in economic planning. We need women in trade. We need women in finance. We need women across board. We need women, especially when we look at foreign affairs. We need women everywhere. So let's begin to look at these things positively. Women should not be seen to beg for positions. No. So you cannot be begging for positions and in the same breath be speaking about equity. It's confusing signals. And that's what I said 2 years ago. You cannot. So let's push this narrative. Equity. Work with men, allies. And let's do this thing. I said earlier on that men should begin to speak our women in those meetings and present women because the women are as capable as men. So opportunities must be presented for them to show off or show forth. I hope that answers it.
Yeah, I believe that does that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. So I'll be taking one more question. I can see another question here, but we can only take one. And interestingly, this question that I want to read out also aligns to the question I had earlier. This person said, why do other women don't want their fellow women grow like her? And this is something I have also experienced because when I started out, I noticed that it was mostly the men that were ready to, should I say, mentor me in quotes as a media protege, that kind of thing. It was mostly them. I remember trying to converse with a couple of women when I was starting out. It was I don't even know the actual words to use, and that's how it has been. And a lot of women, this has been their reality, right? It seems they are not able to, do a couple of things with their fellow women. It seems they are not. It's like there's this sort of competition, in quotes. So, what the question right now is, why do you think other women don't want their fellow women to grow like them? Thank you.
Earlier on, I mentioned, I actually did speak to this, and that's when I talked about the Queen Bee syndrome, and I'm sure some of you can identify with this. And what I said earlier on is that we had a situation where a woman who struggled to rise, okay, may subconsciously believe others must struggle too, So they will refuse to open doors for you. Some people just believe that. I struggle to get here now. No, you can't just have it easy. And I'm sure you can see that in what's going on today. Now, this one just joined, this one just came. Why must this one, So they see it as we struggled, but they don't see it as we paved the way. And that's what it is. You paved the way. We have our first female national president of JCI Nigeria here. We have the second female national president. We have them. If someone did not pave the way, which makes it clear that it is possible, we will just keep thinking it's a male preserve. And everybody will stay with the status quo. No, that's not how to move things forward. So that's why, some people are just like that. And then some people just, again, it's personal. Some people are raised to see men as natural leaders. So they can't understand why they would see it as gra-gra. Why is this woman trying to be a leader? It's for men. Some people are wired that way. It's not their fault. It's the way they're wired. But we must help them. And that's why we're having this conversation. We must help them. Some people just even resent women who challenge stereotypes. They just resent them. But we will help them because we will continue to have the conversation. Yeah. So I hope that answers it.
Yes, 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 yes. That does answer it. And you just did justice to the topic. It's exactly 8 p.m. And I'm going to be welcoming back our convener, the visioner of Women on a Mission Initiative, to come back and do the wrap up for us. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's make, I think there's only one man left on the call, but ladies and gentlemen, please let's welcome back Dr. Dekunbi Wuraola. Ma, please help us wrap this up today. Give your closing remarks. Thank everyone before we call it a night.
Thank you. Thank you, Nalu. Wow. I've been taking notes, and some things you've heard, but some things you hear in a new way, and some things you've never heard. And so this last 35 minutes with Mr. Ogunlana has been a combination of all of these things for me. And it just goes to show that we're just starting. We haven't scratched the surface yet. It's not about us. In fact, I think I'm going to adopt the we for we, because he for she or she for she will it ultimately become a we for we. It's been a very, 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 very enlightening evening for me. And I hope it's been the same for you. Fortunately, this call has been recorded. And so I'm going to still go back and listen over, because what Mr. Ogunlana gave us, very loaded. I was taking notes, and he will say number one, he'll say something, then he'll say a second thing, and then he'll have a sub of it, and then that sub leads to another sub. So it's a whole mind mapping session, even within all he said. And I just want to, on behalf of Women on a Mission Initiative, and it's not only me, so I do have coordinators here. I have our past speakers here. I have my fellow sisters in the mission, Senator Joko Tade Odebumi. And I just checked the chat and I saw that we have the Africa Middle East Senate Association chairman in person of Senator Nnekai Itabo on this call too. These are all women who are supporting women, women who are lifting women, women who are advocates for women. But we need more of these women to do all these things. And so not only them, but also have the men who are going to be, like you said, our allies, but not only our allies, that they would also be the disruptors of the system, that they would disrupt things for us. It's a long journey. The queen bees amongst us, let's identify ourselves and let's see how we can just let go of this queen bee syndrome. A lot of things has been put in today's conversation. I don't think we can end it all here. I think we're going to have to do a transcript of this session by Mr. Ogunlana to see what are the action points. And maybe we can even have a subgroup of the he for she, on how the he for she men can support. And I think when that happens, some of the women who have the idea of men being the boss can understand that they can also be the boss. It can't end with this, this session. We can't just end it here with this talk. There's a lot to go back and chew on. And so thank you for jolting us into action, Mr. Ogunlana, for resetting us. If you allow me to use that word, you've given us a reset, a factory reset this evening. And I believe that we're all going to go back and see how we can forge. And this conversation cannot just end with this. So we are looking forward to having the he for she. And I saw two other men on this call that I would say are strong women advocates. We call him Papa K, Kalada Piafi, and of course the traditional prime minister of Ngo Okpala Autonomous Community, Mark Finton Ray. And so these are men that I know that they are he for she, just like Mr. Ogunlana. So we're going to start seeking you out and making sure that you become our voice, our allies, our advocates, our disruptors of the system, so that truly we can accelerate action. We are indeed very grateful, Mr. Ogunlana. It's been a lovely Sunday evening in your company and in company of everyone who's joined. And I do know that we're not all going to go back the same. You have sent out words that are finding deep roots inside of us, and we need to take action about it. I know the one that applies to me, and I know that everyone should pick the one that applies to them. Indeed, thank you very much for your time. Short notice, but you've done justice. You've done justice to this topic, and I can only say that we'll continue to accelerate action even beyond March, all through the year 2025, so that we can look back and say, did we achieve what we set out to achieve? And are we going to make progress in the next 25 years? Are we still going to be having this conversation? All the women after us we would have set the pace and set the foundation for them, and they're just going to, move based on that foundation and do greater exploits than we have done. Thank you very, very, very much, Mr. Ogunlana. Once again, I don't think we can stop thanking you. And for everyone who's joined this call, thank you very much. Let's continue to, as they say, accelerate action and go forward to do the things we need to do. Speak up when we need to speak, not in private, but in public. And that issue of the one we did not talk about, I hope that in the next few weeks, like you said, something else will have come up to take the space of that conversation in the media. Thank you all for a lovely evening. We can unmute our mics. We can say hi. We can hear each other's voices. And it's been a lovely evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the session.
Thank you, Madam Convener. Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Thank you very
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wishing us all a lovely and beautiful week ahead.
Thank you. We wish you same.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Do follow us
Thank you,
on
everyone.
Instagram. Follow us on
Yes,
Instagram
please.
at
Follow us on
Women on
Instagram.
Mission.initiative. If you want to join us, do let us know on Instagram. Have a lovely night's rest, everyone. See you next time. Same station, same time. Cheers.
Cheers.
My name is
Bye.
Nalo, by the way, if you all didn't know that.
Nalu, I introduced you when your network failed. Chinalorum.
Yeah, thank you, ma.
Yes, I got it.
Thank you all so much. Thank you all
All
so
right,
much
then.
for being here.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you very much. And wishing you a lovely birthday. Well, what's left of the day? Sandra, IPP Sandra, thank you for spending
Thank
your
you,
1
Mama.
hour of your birthday with us. We do
you.
appreciate that. Yes,
Thank
please.
you, everyone.
Thank
Happy
you
birthday,
too.
IPP.
Thank you. Good night. Yeah. Bye.